All right, guys, so OpenAI just dropped a big bombshell, their first truly open source model since GPT-2. So I've been putting it through the paces, and it's the reason why I might be a week or two behind here, but I wanted to show you my testing results and give you my thoughts on the GPT-oss release. So I'm going to show you real numbers, and these are things that I've run in my tests on real servers. You know that here we like to build your own DIY AI PCs, meaning a PC that you can build at a reasonable cost for not tens of thousands of dollars. And so I have a whole playlist about how to build these, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it today. I'm going to talk about GPT-oss and what this model can achieve. Now, the GPT-oss 120 billion model achieves near parity with OpenAI O4 Mini, which is really pretty impressive for an open source model. Now, 120 billion parameters, I'm going to go into what exactly that means, but here's a question that nobody's asking. Is this actually a breakthrough that everybody's claiming, or are we looking at another case of benchmark inflation? So I ran some numbers on real hardware, tested the actual performance, and discovered some interesting, shocking truths that I'm going to be honest, like it's actually better than I thought it was, but let's talk about it here because I'm going to break it all down for you. So are these models worth the hype, or should you stick with what you're already working on? We're going to dive into all of that today. This is going to be an awesome video. I'm super excited. Been working on this video for over a week. Let's dive in. Welcome to Starter Pack. I'm Spencer, and here at Starter Pack, we love to build software developers as well as build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years of software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. I accidentally stumbled and said build software developers, but I actually left it because you know what? We do build software developers. That's what we do here is we train software developers and we build custom software, but you know what? We build developers. I'm actually really proud of the fact that I'm continuing to help train the next generation of software development because I love software development. Now, one of the biggest things you guys can do for me is if you leave a comment down below, it really helps out the algorithm and really helps me to grow this channel, which I'm working really hard on to bring you guys real content, real stuff every day. So OpenAI finally released what we've been waiting for, truly open models with commercial license that you can actually use. If you know me, one of the big things I hate about OpenAI is I hate the fact that they have the word open in there when they've been totally closed and frankly a pretty slimy company. So this was definitely a move I didn't see coming, and I'm going to eat a little crow here and like backtrack a little bit, right? But I still don't think they're a great company, but this is a good model. Let's talk about it today because I want to tell you where this is because it definitely needs to be in your tool belt. So after spending days testing these on pretty much every GPU setup that I could get my hands on, and that's part of the point, stuff I could get my hands on, a real normal guy like you. I don't have stacks of H100s sitting out there, right? I'm not Elon Musk building out a million H100s and G200s, right? Like I got the real hardware that you guys are going to have too. So I want to tell you the real story and cut through the hype and see what these models actually can deliver where the rubber meets the road. So let's jump over and talk about these models a little bit here because this is what I want to show you guys too. All right, so you can see here that this is the announcement by OpenAI, and it's funny because this announcement actually came before the release of GPT-5, and so it was an interesting timing. I don't know if Sam was trying to warm up us nerds that we're going to see through the fact that GPT-5 was total crap, but they announced that, you know, the GPT-oss, which has come in two models, right? So there's two sizes here. There's a 20 billion model and the 120 billion model, right? They give it for permissive licensing under Apache 2.0, so that means everybody can use it. You can build products around it. You can use it in your corporations, totally free. Don't have to worry about copyleft restrictions, right? Totally use this, right? Designed with agentic tasks. So this is one of the big things I would definitely say. It's going to be very good at this. Deeply customizable, fully chain of thought, and they go through the demo here, right? And so they do also have, you know, the research blog on the performance here. Now, Sam then, you know, announced this, of course, because, you know, and I find it funny he does this on X. But anyways, so he says, GPT-oss is out. We made an open model that performs at the level of O4 Mini and runs on high-end laptop. Now, the one that performs against O4 Mini does not run on a high-end laptop. I don't know any laptop that's running an H100, and to run the full model, you really have to have the H100. Now, I'm going to hear a whole bunch of naysayers come out and be like, you can have the AI chip and 128 gigs of RAM and run this. Yes, but it's not going to run anywhere near what it's actually supposed to run. You're going to get maybe 5 to 7 tokens per second. I would love for somebody to show me otherwise, but it does not run with CPU plus GPU. And a smaller one that runs on a phone. I do not know any phone that has 16 gigs that can run on. So this is totally like way incorrectly stated. Neither of these models are going to run on a phone, but I'm going to show you some of that today because I'm going to show you real numbers. And so this is a laptop that can run a 120 billion model and a phone that can run a 20 billion model. I don't know what drug Sam's on, but anyways. So now let me, as always, take we're going to dive into this because this is really interesting. The models are licensed under Apache 2.0 license, meaning you can use it for anything, commercial purpose, redistribute. You're totally good to use this. Now, this isn't just open weight. This is full commercial freedom. So without usual restrictions that we see from other companies, you can fine tune these models. You can resell them. You can build products around them. You can deploy them anywhere you want. So compared to other open models that have restrictions, it's nice to see Sam go back. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. We all know I'm kind of a Sam hater, right? But it's nice to see where, give credit where credit's due. OpenAI is coming back to the true roots. And I think this is really important, right? I think this will keep Sam alive. And I'm going to tell you why I think he did this. I do think it's for a slightly nefarious purpose, but whatever. You guys all know I don't like Sam. So we're not going to mince words about that. But I'm going to give credit where credit's due. They did make this possible. So for the first time since GPT-2, we have a frontier level model that companies can actually build businesses around. Now, this is important because one of the things that we're seeing with the release of GPT-5 is we said tons of people who just put wrappers around, GPT-4o Mini and all these things, and all these other models. And then suddenly, and this is exactly what I've been predicting here for a long time, right? So if you guys follow, which I hope you are, then you're going to hear that I've been predicting this for a while. And GPT-5, they pulled all the old models and a bunch of stuff broke, right? And a ton of people were mad, and there was business owners and people who fall in love with their AI bots. And these people got mad and have started a petition. And so they're going to probably bring some of the 4.0 mini stuff back. But this is massive for startups and enterprises who need certainty because they can build on this model. They download it. Now they own it. Right? They can't change it out from underneath them. Now, this is interesting because it's a mixture of expert architecture and it does deliver some real efficiency. So as always, if you want to really go, to a great source, Simon Willison is definitely one of these guys that if you don't follow and you nerd out on this kind of stuff, you definitely should be following, right? So Simon Willison goes on, and I'm going to read a couple of pieces here. He says, OpenAI's own benchmarks are eyebrow raising, and he says the emphasis is his. The gpt-oss open source 120 billion model achieves near parity with OpenAI o4 Mini on core reasoning benchmarks. Now he's going to show some of these, and near parity, the word near is close, right? So while running efficiently on a single 80 gig GPU. Now, I don't know. My guess is probably less than 0.5% of my listeners in the sound of my voice have an 80 gig GPU. That's a serious GPU. So they just, the release of the 9600, it gives us some kind of consumer grade hardware that can run this. That price tag is around $9,000 to $10,000 for a 9600. Or an H100 is what most commonly people are getting, but that's $30,000+, right? So the GPT-oss 20 billion delivers models similar results to OpenAI's O3 Mini on common benchmarks and can run on edge devices with just 16 gigs of memory. Now, I know they're talking about that you get some of these newer AI chips, right? So Intel, AMD's, Ryzen 9 AI chips, right? You can take those and load them up and then get really fast DDR6 RAM and run this. And it will, but it's nowhere near comparison to just a standard GPU. And so getting a GPU is really the only way to go. And I'm going to show you some of that specifics here. But he goes on to show some of these benchmarks here, right? So the 120 billion model ranging at 80 on this particular benchmark range at 80.1. Now there are some people out there saying that they gamed these, and a lot of people are putting these through actually the same test and getting lower benchmarks out there. But I'm going to just go ahead and go with near, right? The word near. So I do think it is near. I think these benchmarks were gamed. I think it's about 5% lower than this, but be that as it is, I'm trying really hard on this video not to hate on OpenAI more than I normally do, which we all know I do a bit. But I'm trying to give credit where credit's due because I am excited that they open source this, and I do actually think it's a good model. I think as with everything, I'm an AI realist, so I'm not just drinking the Kool-Aid. I want to show you guys some of this stuff now. He goes on to talk about, They talked about the H100 pricing, right? So one of the cheapest, and then you can list about $2 per hour to $11 an hour is about the GPU rate. And we're going to get into that. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm making up these numbers that I'm going to pull onto next in the future. So I want to scroll down here to the bottom, and he says, competing with Chinese. I've been writing a lot about the flurry of excellent open weight releases by Chinese AI. And basically that's part of the reason he thinks that they're really doing this is because he doesn't want to be losing against these Chinese models that are open sourcing. The other big reason here that we're going to get into, and I'll get into this here later in the video a little bit on why I think that he's doing this open source release. So the MOE router intelligently selects which expert network to activate for each token, giving you 120 billion model intelligence for about 5 billion model compute cost. So this is very efficient, and part of the reason why when ChatGPT released, they lowered their pricing is because this MOE router intelligence actually allows them to process cheaper. Now, still super expensive. They're still losing money, but they're getting this to be more intelligent so that they can start to drive costs down. This is where you start seeing cost saving measures come into play, right? So this means you're getting near GPT-4 level performance while using the compute power of a much smaller model. So the architecture uses 64 expert with 12 active at any time, allowing the model to specialize in different domains without the full computational overhead. Now, don't get me wrong, the smaller 20 billion model can run on just 3.6 of active parameters is still perfect for edge deployment, right? So that's for you and me out there, the normal, us normal laymen, we can, this 20 billion model is what we really want. Now, I'm going to say I'm eating crow. And I'm going to admit it, right? I admit that I don't love OpenAI, but overall, I did find this model to be very snappy, very fast, and very responsive. Now, if you're a company and systems that aren't connected and you want to connect these, or you want to start building something on the GPT-oss model, reach out, because here at Startup Pack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work to maximum efficiency. So check out startuppack.com/Spencer and we can help you out. Now, GPT-oss 120 outperforms OpenAI's O3 Mini and matches O4 Mini, right? But as we were showing here, like in their AIM 2024 and 2025 math competition, scores are pretty impressive, 96 and 97%. Now, I'm not a big benchmark guys because I don't think benchmarks tell the real world. The real world performance does feel like these academic scores are pretty close here, right? I think they did game some of these, and there is some proof showing out there that they have gamified some of these benchmarks. But overall, I found that it was really snappy, and I really liked it. So this feels more like the Phi model approach, heavily optimized for benchmarks, but potentially limited for general purpose applications. Now, with the release of GPT-oss model, the statement that the best available open weight models now come from Chinese AI labs doesn't totally hang true. Now, we'll see how long this reigns true, and OpenAI moves really slow. So if it takes them as long as it did to release their last open source model, in the next 2 years, they're going to get their butt kicked all over again because China's moving a lot faster. Now, at the end of the video here, I'm going to show you a lot of my benchmarks and stuff, so hang in there with me. Now, the model supports browsing tools for web search, Python tools for code execution, and arbitrary developer functions. So unlike most open models where tool calling feels bolted on, these were trained specifically for agentic flows from the ground up, right? The models can maintain context across multiple tools, and Simon Willison and others did support that. So at over 3,000 tokens per second, organizations can build live coding assistants, install large document QA and summarization, and fast agentic research chains. Now, this isn't going to come out of the box. You're going to need a developer to build this stuff for you, right? You aren't just going to plug this in and make it work. There's a lot of stuff that it's going to take some good lifting, and that's part of the things why here at Startup Pack, our specialty is help you building these out for your organization. So check out startuppack.com/Spencer if you need help. But my experience with tool calling shows that it's significantly more reliable than a lot of the other open source models. This was really snappy and really smooth. I like some of the other ones are kind of a bit like pause, go. This actually responded back really quick and actually came back with good answers really quickly. So overall, I was impressed with this. Now, the 120 billion model is going to fit on the H100, and the 20 billion model is going to fit on the 20 billion. And I'm going to break some of that down for you. So the training for the GPT-oss 120 billion models requires 2.1 million H100 hours with an estimated cost of $4.2 million to $23 million, right? So it costs somewhere between $4 to $23 million if you were going to train this yourself. So OpenAI just gave away a lot of money. If you were to try to build this model yourself, it would cost you a ton. So it really was big of them. Now, $23 million to somebody that has a $300 to $500 billion valuation is a pretty small amount. So it's not like they're like being totally, and the other big reason that I think that Sam did this is because now we've started to see GPT hosting crop up everywhere, right? Every hoster out there is now providing GPT hosting. And the reason for that is because they can actually host these open source models. So if they have H100 hosting, bam, 120 model, they're selling this, and that's the reason why. So now suddenly GPT is hosted across every hosting platform out there, from AWS to DigitalOcean to every hosting platform out there. So what this really means for developers is a big fundamental shift. Now, I want to break this down because I've been promising the whole time, and I want to show you that we've got some real numbers here for you. So let me get these numbers up here while I get rolling here. I'm going to take my face off of here just so that we can kind of go through this, and so my face isn't blocking any of these numbers here for you guys. Plus, you're better off not having to see my ugly mug anyways. All right, so we're going to go through the hardware costs of actually running the GPT-oss, and these come from my own testing, right? So generally speaking, your 20 billion model, you really need a 24 gig graphics card. There's not a lot of 16 gig graphics cards out there. You could possibly strap together 2 8 gigs, but your performance is going to be really bad. So generally what I'm finding with the 24 gigs, and I'm going to kind of show you here, is either one 24 gig graphics card, so running like a 3090, a 4090, or, you know, if you can actually get your hands on one, a 5090. But these that are a 24 gig model. I also have had a lot of success in the last week as I've been testing, putting together finding two 3060s, putting them together, right? Two 3060s onto one board, which are each 12 gig, the 12 gig model of the 3060s. And I'm going to break that down for you. To get to the 120 billion model, you've got to be running an 80 gigs of VRAM. So I don't know a whole lot of people that have these cards laying around. They do cost about $30,000 to $40,000 to get your hands on one. There is, the 9600, which does run a little bit slower, but it is more of a consumer grade version. And so you can get your hands on those for about $10,000. But again, I'm going to just go on a limb and say that's kind of outside the range of most of the laymen out there, right? So if you're going to host this on the cloud, you're running about $3 per hour. So I went to DigitalOcean, where we do most of our hosting. Hey, I'm not sponsored by DigitalOcean, but it's just where we do most of our hosting. I really like them. This goes to $81 a day, $569 a week, about $2,500 a month if you're going to run one H100 to run that 120 billion model. So let's dive into kind of what I think most people are going to be doing here. So your model size is the 20 billion model, which is one I really like. And I did do most of my testing against this because I feel like this is something that's well within the range. And so 24 gig card, right? So the one that I really recommend is the 3090 here. Single card, you can find it for about $1,000. I put $1,200 on here. If you buy it new, it's more like $1,200. I've gone out to Facebook Marketplace, so I can really consistently find them for $700-800. Total cost here is $1,750 to get this computer together. I think you can get that down to closer to like $1,200 to $1,500. But I put that, I'm trying to be conservative on my numbers here for people to be able to estimate on. Now, if you want the 120 billion, what you're looking at is 80 gig of VRAM, right? Base server to run this, you're going to want to have at least about a $2,000 server, 30,000 GPU, total cost $32,000, about $50 a month to run, right? Okay. So here's all the various different ones that I tested on. So I actually did test on an old 1080, right? This has 11 gigs. It has no tensor cores, right? So your NVIDIA RTX 1080, it doesn't have any tensor cores. Because of that, you can't load the whole model into the GPU memory. So it runs about 30% on the CPU, which then is really reliant on how good your CPU is, and 70% on GPU. And so this really relies on the base server, the GPU. Only ran about 7 tokens per second, which still isn't too terrible. Like, you could build some agentic code stuff off of this. So you can find those old 1080 Ti's for around $100. So if you want to really build on a budget, go find an older computer for $400, slap an old 1080 on here. You can build some agentic code that will work on this. It's slow, but it'll work. Next, I did an RTX 3060 that only had 8 gigs of RAM because I wanted to kind of show you what happens. This went to 50% CPU, 50% GPU. Now, I will admit this is on a really old computer that I was running this on. And so, And so really, you're really reliant on that CPU, and I was only getting about a token per second. So again, your CPU-based stuff, not going to run super quick. This is now where things get interesting. And this is really the model I really like. I think this is a great baseline performance that most people can do. You find a board that will support dual graphics cards, right? You go get two 3060s, so 12 plus 12, to get 24. Llama CPP, a lot of these will do really good job at bridging that 24 gigs, right? Your performance now is 100% on the GPU. That's the kicker here. This is where you see that as you got it. The goal is to really get that whole model loading up at that 100% of the GPU. I was getting around 31 tokens per second, and the performance for this was really good. Now, just this week, I actually picked up, shout out to the guy who sold these to me, but I was able to pick up, I found a guy who was actually selling two of these. I got them for $300, two 3060s. These were great. Slapped them into an older computer. The computer doesn't really matter now because it's all running on the GPU. That's the really big thing here. I'm circling it with my mouse. The 100% GPU, get about 31 tokens per second, right? So this is, I think, your good baseline, because you can pretty consistently just take any machine you have laying around your house, under your desk, whatever. If you are buying brand new, go find an old cheap PC that has two graphics card slots for 24 gigs of RAM, slap them in. I was getting about 31 tokens per second. This is easily a good baseline performance. That anything above 25 tokens per second is a pretty reasonable rate that you can build a single threaded thing. So probably not going to use a whole lot of multimodal, right, where you got two things running against it at once, but you can run a good baseline performance with this kind of model. This is like our $500, what I like to call our $500 AI PC for. Now, you want to start stepping this up a little bit. I did another one that had a 3090 and a 3060 into it, so 36 gigs run on this. Mostly this was just running on the 3090 at that point, right? So the 3060 you could kind of just take out of the equation, was running almost 70 tokens per second, 69 tokens per second. I would say definitely you can pick your hands on 3090. Again, brand new. I just went on Amazon. I can find a lot of 3090s for $1,000 to $1,200, brand new. And on Facebook Marketplace, I checked two different markets. I was pretty consistently able to find them for $800-900. So really good fast performance. This is now where you're talking about $1,000 to $1,500 server. Now you can get into like multimodal performance. So a 3090 is going to be good multimodal type performance on a single thing. So again, I tested again with just the 3090, was getting 50 plus tokens per second. Again, this is like your $1,500 server, very fast performance. So this is really kind of my suggested config. What I really found to be like my suggested configuration is a good 3090. Really, pretty much any computer will hold that. A really easy way to do this is go out and find any old Alienware. You can slap a 3090 into it that has enough power, and most of the the Alienwares do. So go find yourself a $300-400 Alienware R8, R7, or R6, R7. Put 3090 into it. You can usually find those out on eBay or whatever for $300-400. I like to get the ones with 32 gigs of RAM. It does load the model faster if you have 32 gigs of RAM, but it's definitely not required. I've tested this, and your tokens per second actually does get about the same. Just your first load speed is what matters. So overall, hopefully that's helpful. What kind of benchmarks, what kind of hardware? I like to call this the testing of the real layman, because I don't know about y'all, but I hear these YouTubers out there, they're like, oh, and on my H100, I'm like, dude, nobody has an H100. That's not what the real people have. So if you're wanting to build a self-coding machine where you're using this model to code locally, and you don't want to pay for a crazy cursor bill, this is how you can build this and maintain it. You can build out Klein, use gpt-oss, and start to build this. So I think this release represents a really fundamental shift, AI as a service to AI as an infrastructure that you can own and control. And this is what I try to tell companies that I consult with all the time. You don't want to wrap yourself around an OpenAI API unless you're doing something real time, but you just have to know that you're at the mercy of them changing that. And they just saw that those last 2 weeks. But companies can now build an AI first product without vendor lock-in, right? That's what that vendor lock-in is just knowing that OpenAI could change this at any day and you're at their whim. No API dependencies or usage restrictions. So it's not going to be a huge bill. If your service scales, you own it, right? You scale your own hardware. Now, the open weight means that you can fine tune also for your specific domain. And this is what I've been preaching for a long time. We're going to see a lot of stuff niche down, right? So you can then take this model, run it, and start to fine tune it to your own. And it's totally licensed and legal to do that. So you can deploy this into a regulated environment and maintain data sovereignty. This means that if you have sensitive data that you don't want to be pumping out to OpenAI, which I hope everybody's listening to me on, then you can actually own that and put that onto your server and do that way. So this is OpenAI's strategic response to ramping up open source competition, particularly from Chinese models. So for startups, this is going to be a big move because this will help level the playing field. You're no longer dependent on big tech APIs for your core AI capabilities. Now, this will require some developers to come in and help you. The normal layman's not going to build something like this. And this is what I've been trying to say for a long time. This is an opportunity for developers to scale up. Start learning to build again with AI. Start learning to use these models. Start learning to build against these models. One of the great things is we actually found that in our benchmarking testing that using JSON inputs and outputs actually improves the response time. Your tokens per second actually goes up. So that's really the real winner here. The real winner is the developer community. We have the tools to build AI applications that we've wanted to do this whole time. Like I said, you can build out a $500 to $1,000 machine that you can build and then start to put into your corporation and start to use it. And as always, if you need help building out some of that stuff for your company, reach out to us because our specialty is building those kind of tools so your company can work to maximum efficiency. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer. Now, what were your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your guys' benchmarks. We'd love to hear what you guys have. I'm getting lots of cool comments and tips out there. So leave a comment. It's the most complimentary things I get is when you guys leave a comment down below. And make sure you like and subscribe. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers as well as build custom software solutions for companies. And here's some great information about our services.
Hi, I'm Spencer, a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and 25 years in software development, I've transformed technology teams and products for businesses just like yours. As your fractional CTO, you get the strategic guidance of a seasoned technology executive without the full-time commitment. Perfect for companies ready to leverage cutting-edge technology without expanding headcount. My team at Startup Hack has already built advanced AI agents for small and medium businesses, automating complex workflows and delivering advanced ROI to human workflows. We specialize in creating custom software that connects your systems into a single coherent technology ecosystem. Our development approach focuses on tangible business outcomes. For one client, we developed AI-powered workflows that cut days off of human processes. For another company, by connecting multiple systems, we reduced processing time to increase their ROI by over 75%. We don't just write code, we architect solutions that scale. Whether you need cloud system architecture, data integration between legacy systems, or custom AI agents that automate your unique business processes, my team delivers results that exceed your expectations. Having led technology for a lot of companies and launched 7 successful brands of my own, I bring battle-tested expertise to your business challenges. Our specialty is turning technological complexity into business advantage. So if you're ready to harness the power of AI and custom software to drive your business forward, let's connect. Together, we'll build technology that doesn't just solve today's problems, it positions you for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology leadership, decades of experience, AI powered. Reach out today and we can help you. Check out startuphack.com/Spencer.